Oh, sorry. I'm not very good with technology. I think there are two things emerging from our discussion here. The first is there's an issue in terms of strategic level of what we're talking about. And the point being raised by Martin is, okay, fine, wonderful discussion about strategy, what's happening at the operational level? And I'll try and address both. I think I'll start with the strategic level first. One of the issues that I see, and I don't think I have the answer, but one of the issues that I see is that there is not enough involvement of SMEs in terms of advocacy with local governments, in terms of determining how your government works with developing countries. There has to be a discussion where it's not just a government minister that goes in to have a discussion. It should be that businesses get together, and this is why I think the Confederation of Industry has a role to play, and the Chamber of Commerce, to get involved and say, look, if you are going to give X million Czech crowns to developing countries, how are you going to make sure that you address the constraints to trade? So our companies are able to benefit from that removal of barriers to trade. That's the first part, at the strategic level. And also if you look at the World Bank Doing Business survey, for example, you'll notice that most of the advanced economies are on the top, and most of the not so advanced economies are at the bottom. That means that there are lots of impediments to growth, to trade, to doing business in those countries. Well, I think one of the roles of business member organizations is to work with the government to address those barriers. That's the strategic part. Onto the operational part, the issues raised by Martin. One of the key issues there is this, and I said this yesterday when I was at the event on procurement principles. The problem I find, and this is from my experience, is that a lot of SMEs in transition economies or newly industrialized economies are not involved in the procurement process from the outset. I'm afraid if you're not involved at the start, you will never be involved at all. If I'm writing terms of reference for a new program, for example, for the World Bank, and Czech SMEs are not involved at all, you will never be involved at the request for proposals. Because what happens, I'm not a procurement specialist, what happens with procurement is that somebody writes a terms of reference, haven't spoken to lots of people, then they invite people to submit expressions of interest. That is the state at which you get involved. If you are not involved at that level, if you don't become part of the conversation, you will not be asked to submit a request for proposal. And if you're not, then you're not in the game. So then you will have SMEs been disgruntled, been dissatisfied by saying, our government is paying X amount of money to the World Bank, our government is paying X million Czech crown, but we're not getting business from it. And I think that's one level at which there should be some level of involvement. The next bit is, I think, there has to be more information dissemination, breaking down a lot of these fancy words we use in development so SMEs understand it. As you said, Martin, an SME knows when you say, what is eligible expenditure? They can read that, they understand it. But there's a lot of jargon we use in development that is opaque. It's not transparent, it's very opaque. So these companies don't get to access that information. Again, I think those are issues we could look at, but I think I'll leave it there for now.